Hello and welcome to Unstuck. My name is Andri Søren and this is a vlog about all of the things that get us stuck as creators, as musicians, and trying to find ways around them. I've been making music for 25 years with computers, and also I'm a freelance photographer amongst a whole bunch of other things. So I've picked up a few things over the years and I'd like to share them with you. So in the last 3 weeks, I've made 6 music videos. This is a big deal for me because I think that's almost as much as I made in the last 3 years. And I'm going to tell you how. As some of you might have seen in previous videos, especially the first one, I pointed out how I've really been stuck. It's kind of for years that I've been thinking about making these videos, getting music made, putting it out there, a whole bunch of things, and I've really been stuck. And at some point I snapped out of it and here I am, unstuck. Before I continue, I'd like to ask you one thing, and that's if you are enjoying this video or these videos that I've already done, please leave a comment below. It really helps not only me, but also basically the algorithm on YouTube to understand that something hopefully interesting is going on in these videos. And most of all, I get to hear whether any of this makes sense to any of you out there, or if there's anything I can do better. I'm really up for having a lot of discussion and debate below, so please let me know. So let's get to this. I've got 3 steps, 3 main things that you need to keep in mind. And at the end of the video, I've got the most important thing that you have to keep in mind to be still making things in 3 years, let alone 3 weeks. So stay until the end of the video. Step 1. So what I've done to really get going is I've reduced the number of options I have to the bare minimum. And what I mean by that is my setup. My setup in Ableton Live and with Push is really minimal. I mean, it's a little bit, I guess, like that kind of minimalistic trend that we're seeing a lot of people talking about, but I've never given it that name. It's just, at some point I realized, as well as having some interesting advice, thank you, Andres, that's many years ago, I'm going to tag you in this and let you know, that you have to master something at some point. You have to take something and make it your instrument. And so that's what I've done. So if you're an Ableton Live user or using a computer or using software, you need to create a live set. And what I mean is something which will be a work in progress, something which you will add to slowly over time, all of the instruments and sounds you like, work out why some stuff works, why some other things don't. And this is going to be something which becomes a powerhouse of creativity for you, both in the near future and in the future following. If you're more of a gearhead and you're using external synthesizers and analog equipment or modular synths or whatever, you need to do the same thing. You should find a way to have things hooked up, ready to go, without a lot of cable management and things that you need to do just to get ready to, for takeoff basically, and have a sort of battle-ready version of your music setup ready to go at any time. But no matter what setup you have, you should master these things. You should take them and put them under your skin. I mean, that's the first thing that pops into my head, but I mean really absorb them, really keep using them until your muscle memory kicks in and you're almost not even thinking anymore. You're just reaching for stuff, and things get so much faster and so much more fun once you have that, because instead of solving problems or connecting things, you're in a state of flow and you're just making music. And if I can offer any advice for any Push users out there, is try to make all of your devices and tracks and instruments have the same setup. So by that I mean take the macro knobs and lay them out in exactly the same way. So every time you reach for something, no matter what instrument it is, you have, for example, a chain selector, a filter sweep, a release, a control, a volume knob, all in the same place. I swear this helps so much. This is all about reducing the number of times your brain goes, where is that stuff? Where's that thing? Because every time that happens, it breaks you out of this state of flow. And I'm going to keep repeating it. That's the place you want to be. Step 2, you've got your setup, but now you need a kind of a format. And by that I mean, is it going to be a sound recording? Is it going to be a video? Is it going to be a live jam that you're recording to tape, or goodness knows what? Finding the one that works for you, the one that you like, this is really key. So what I have right now is a kind of live recording video setup. So in a way it's sort of like a jam, but the output is a video and also audio. And this works really well for me, particularly because the best place I've found to share my work is here on YouTube. So the format fits the thing that I like doing the most, as well as the thing that's worked best for me in terms of just sharing my work. You might find that it's something completely different for you and something even just personal. It doesn't need to be shared. And like I say, it could be recording to an old tape recorder, printing to some other medium, goodness knows what. That's for you to find out. And the key here, just like the setup itself, is to find something simple and that doesn't break your brain every time you do it or give you a lot of hassle. If you do have something you love doing and it's not working that well, or it's always a big amount of effort to get it done, you might have to consider killing that format and choose another one that's more modest, one that you can keep on adding to and build a library of content over the next weeks, months, and years. You could also look for something more structured. For example, say, I'm going to generate one idea every time I sit down. I've got 30 minutes. And at the end of the month, I've got a 4 or 5, 6 hour session to finish one of them. I'm going to choose one of them. I'm going to turn it into a track no matter what. And that's going to be my output. That's going to be the thing that at least I can look back on and say, that's something I've made. And that's something I've learned from. And I'm proud that I made it through the process of doing it. And then you can decide what you're going to do with it. After a few weeks or months, you tend to know, is this something I want to share with the world or not? Again, this is a very personal thing. And just because you're making music doesn't mean you have to share it with lots of people. The most important thing is that you enjoy it. Step 3 is one I really like because it's a psychological one. It's not per se a practical one. And it is to remember why you're doing this. So it's fine and well coming up with a setup and a format for making music or creating some kind of creative output. But it's no good if after a few weeks or months you start getting frustrated and say, hey, why am I not getting lots of views? Or why is it not going exactly as I want? The most important thing is that you are doing it, that you have created this kind of playground, and it will take time. There will be frustrations, but that you keep going. Because I swear, every time I've kept going and burst through the frustrations that I've had, you end up somewhere interesting. And so the most important thing is to keep coming back to why you're doing what you're doing, why you've made it simple, why you don't need new plugins or new synthesizers to make it work, but rather that you maybe just need a little bit more time or a nicer space or for people to leave you alone while you're doing it. And that's going to be what becomes really enjoyable. And I keep coming back to the social aspects because I think it's something which kind of both fuels and plagues us at the same time as musicians and creators, is that we keep not really knowing exactly at which point to share things. Something that was worked so well for me is for years and years and years I've made things and I've shared those outputs, those videos, those tracks, those little exports with just a couple of friends. Oscar, Maxime, thank you for all of the companionship over the years. These are two guys who I've known I could always just shoot something over to. They also make music. They're also like me, trying to find their way. They've got their own struggles, and we've been really supportive to each other so often, and it's really, really great. So just making a little WhatsApp group with 1 or 2 people who you know are on the same wavelength, this could be a great sort of intermediate step. And if you can find people who support you and encourage you, so that maybe one day you can go a little bit broader and to go to the next sort of ring outside of them and share it with other people, this is really magic. And you'll know those people when you find them. And lastly, as part of step 3, while you should remember why you should keep in mind why you're doing something, it's also good to ask yourself a question now and then: have I chosen quite the right setup, the right match between my music making setup and the format? And maybe don't do this every single time, please don't, but give it a moment on a Sunday every month and say, I wonder if I could make it even simpler and make even more music and even more output if I would just make that one change. You never know, it could become even easier to get into that state of flow. So we've been through the 3 steps. I'm going to give them a summary in a moment, and after that I'm going to tell you the very most important thing. So step 1, reduce the number of options and decisions you have to make. Be ruthlessly focused. Make a setup that's ready to go and that you can just step into like a car, turn the ignition and go. Step 2, find a format, find an output that works for you, whether it's recording to tape, throwing things up onto SoundCloud, making short videos, maybe even with your mobile phone. Find one that just works, that is not a hassle or a pain, And this is going to be your personal library of content that you can then start to share with people if you want to. Step 3 is remember why you're doing this. Don't get lost after a few weeks and start fiddling around with things and changing things and making things more complicated. Keep making it simple. Keep making it something achievable and realistic, and you'll enjoy it. Of this, I'm totally sure. And if you're getting a bit stuck, look for 1 or 2 friends, 1 or 2 allies who you know you'll be able to have a safe space with, to share your output with, your creativity, your ideas, and now and then have a little laugh at the difficulties that we all have as poor creative types. But now the most important thing. Remember to be fair to yourself and realize that you can only make as much music or create as many things as you have time for. If you have a life where you literally can only say, I've got 10 minutes on a Sunday that I actually get to myself, well, you're going to have to accept that what you can put out is going to be as limited as that. And there's no point getting frustrated about it. You just have to be realistic and honest with yourself. And this is precisely why I've made a moment in my week, Mondays, where the whole day, without any discussion, is completely focused on making music and making the kind of output that I've been talking about in the kind of format that works for me, with the kind of setup that I can just turn on and use. So find this moment, make it your holy moment. It doesn't have to be a Sunday. And yeah, this is us picking our battles carefully and enjoying them. And that word, enjoying something, I can't put it better than that, because music is a beautiful thing. Making that air vibrate, arranging it over time, it's magic. So finding a way to reduce all of the friction between you and that's the key here, basically. So I hope that was helpful. I've enjoyed trying to piece together how I've managed to break out of my stuckness and start making music after all these years of thinking about these things, and now I'm just doing them. Do please let me know if any of this has been helpful, or if you have any questions or requests for future videos. I know a lot of you asked me about my live set. I swear I'm going to go into this one day, but it's a big deal for me to open that up, and I really want to do it properly. But it helps so much, really, the comments. And if you like the video and maybe would think it would help someone else, please share it, because as much as the views should not be the most important thing, it's really cool if you see things slowly kind of growing over time. So thanks for watching, and go get yourself unstuck. Ciao for now.